What is up, everybody? My name is Day Reed. Welcome to another video, and today we're going to be doing another guide. And today's guide is going to be on the Shaman tank in Season of Discovery. I want this to be a nice, quick, easy guide. I don't want to over-explain things, spend too much time on things, confusing people. I kind of just want to get down to the bare bones, easy stuff, down right to the point. So the four things we're going to be focusing on today are going to be runes, talents, stats, and rotations, and maybe a very basic kind of tutorial on how Shaman is played, maybe things like totems and stuff. Obviously, runes are the main feature, the new feature in Season of Discovery, so we'll start with that one first. You have 3 runes that you need for tank. There is no like maybe this, maybe that. There are 3 solid runes. You don't need to switch anything out. And that is going to be Shield Mastery, Way of the Earth, and Molten Blast. Now, Shield Mastery is going to be your rune for your chest. And what this basically does is every time you block an enemy, a stack will build that basically increases your armor stat. So you block one time, let's just say it increases your armor by 100. You block one time, your armor goes up by 100. You get a block a second time, your stack now builds up to 2 stacks. You get an armor increase of 200, so on and so forth. So you can build up to 5 stacks. And this, like I said, this basically what it does is give you increased armor for a small period of time. Obviously, if you keep blocking, you can maintain that 5 stack. But this is what you're going to need for your chest piece when it comes to your runes for tanking. Your next one for your legs, similar to my last video when I was doing the Warlock tank, Way of the Earth is very similar to the meta rune, where this is basically the Shaman tank rune. Same way as Metamorphosis, without it you can't tank. This Way of Earth is going to be your Shaman tank rune. This is going to be applied to your legs. It's mostly a stat change. It changes some stats around. Your main weapon, you deal 50% increased threat, gain 30% increased health, take 10% reduced damage, things like that. The main change that happens here is that your Earth Shock goes from being a ranged ability to a melee ability, and your Earth Shock actually becomes your main taunt. So that is going to be what you use for your leg rune. And then obviously last but not least, your hands. I use Molten Blast. I don't think you need any other runes. Molten Blast is basically your cleave ability that helps you taunt multiple enemies at the same time. If you're pulling like packs or something like that. It is a frontal cone. So basically you have to be facing the enemy in order for it to work. Like that. It doesn't do anything. I don't do any damage to him. I have to be facing him. I'll show you again. You kind of saw the little animation there. Didn't do any damage. I had to be facing him in order for that to land on anything. So yeah, it's a frontal cone. It's basically your cleave. When you're tanking more than one enemy, that's what you would use for that. So your Molten Blast, that is going to be your final rune. Put that on your hands. Again, frontal cone doesn't do damage unless you're facing the enemy. It is your cleave. Next, we will go into your talents. I put all mine into enhancement. As you can see, nothing in restoration, nothing in elemental. I put 5 points into shield specialization. Increases your chance to block an attack with shield by 5% and increases the amount blocked by 25%. Obviously, putting this with your Shield Mastery, where when you block something, you get a stack of an armor stat. Increasing your chance to block will obviously increase your chance of getting that proc. Next, I put 5 into Thundering Strikes. Improves your chance to critically strike with your weapon by 5%. Then you have Anticipation. I put 5 into this one. Increases your chance to dodge by an additional 5%. Obviously very good for tanking and taking less damage. And I put my last point into Flurry, which for the 1 point increases your attack speed by 10% for your next 3 swings, after dealing a critical strike. That's what I do for my talents. Pretty straightforward there, nice and easy. He's got four talents that I plug numbers into. And then going into stats. So when it comes to stats, when it comes to the armor that you're looking for, obviously there's like small stats like hit percentage and things like that. But when you're looking at gear, the things you are looking for are armor, followed by strength, then stamina, then agility. Those are going to be the 4 stats you're going to be paying attention to. I believe I want to say, like, in order of priority, if you're getting an increase in strength by like 2 or 3 and your stamina goes down by 1, that's fine. So like I said, strength, stamina, agility, those are going to be that's going to be your stat priority. Now, for this last part of this guide is going to be your rotation. I did some moving around with my abilities, but when it comes to your rotation, pretty simple. Just a couple of abilities. Mainly going to be using Earth Shock, as that's just, like I said, it's going to be your main taunt. So if you need to taunt off a boss or anything like that, Earth Shock's the ability you're going to use. Molten Blast is, like I said, your frontal cleave. You're going to use that, especially when you have more than one enemy in front of you, or you're trying to clear like packs or trash mobs. And then your Flame Shock, you can apply this, but basically puts a little dot on enemies. You know, I would use this more for like bosses. I wouldn't really use this too much when it comes to like trash mobs, just applying this every single time because the cooldown is 6 seconds. But when it comes to like a boss fight, these 3 things here, I would try to keep up Flame Shock whenever you can. But mainly your rotation is going to be Earth Shock, Molten Blast, and Flame Shock, keeping that up. I have 2 other abilities here. Lightning Shield, I like to keep that up if you can. You know, just adds a little bit more defense, at least, or adds a little bit more damage. If enemies are attacking you, they take a little bit of damage, so it kind of helps that way. And then I like to have Rock Biter, which essentially is what gives you your tanking abilities. If this falls off, this is very important, by the way. If Rock Biter falls off and this comes, like, this is a 5-minute buff. So if this 5-minute buff falls off, your abilities don't work the same. So like your Earth Shock will not taunt unless this is up. So very similar to like how Metamorphosis works, where if you're not in the Metamorphosis form, abilities won't work the same way. Same thing it goes for here. So making sure you have Rock Biter up at all times is very important. So I like to keep this like on my main bar rotation just to make sure that I have it up. Like I said, if this falls off, you'll use Earth Shock and it won't taunt anything. So making sure you have that on at all times is very, very important. So I like to have that on my main bars here. But yeah, again, I don't wanna repeat myself too much, but Earth Shock, Molten Blast, Flame Shock, Lightning Shield if you have the mana for it, and then Rock Biter, making sure that buff is on your weapon at all times. I have the auto attack on just because sometimes I have my guy won't attack or I can't really click on him. Sometimes people are in the way, so I like to have that on there just in case. But this is going to be your main rotation. Now going into totems, right now I believe there's only 3 totems you can get at this level at 25. You have Earth totems, Fire totems, and Water totems. Now the best way to remember how this works is Fire totems are basically offensive, they're damage typically. Your Earth totems are basically more of a defensive totem, and your Water totems are essentially your restoration, your healing, helping with I think there's like dispelling and stuff. So typically when I have totems out, depends on what you need. If you need more of a damage push or not. But typically, so for like a defensive totem, your Stone Skin totem essentially is it basically reduces damage that you take when you're near the totem. So it is take less damage totem is the stone skin totem. So you can use that. This lasts for 2 minutes, so you can have this up for a while. So I tend to have my stone skin up to reduce the damage. And then it kind of depends, because I think there's only 2 water totems, and that is going to be your healing totem and your poison cleansing totem. This might change depending on your fights. If you have a fight where there's a lot of poisons or curses that are happening, but normally I just go with my healing stream, just giving you that little bit of a. I think it only gives you about 6 health, but it is something that helps you out a little bit. I think it's about half of the drain life of my warlock, but it's still something. And then my fire. This is going to be very, very different depending on, again, the situation. Your searing totem is going to be something if you want to get more of a damage output. So this totem will shoot fireballs at the enemy. Otherwise, you have the Fire Nova totem. When you use this, I think if it's either killed or eventually after, it'll just go off. It's basically a little bit of an explosion there. So you can probably just open up with this, have this go off and explode, and then you can put down your searing totem. Or if you want, you can use your frost resistance totem if you need that as well. So typically I would say if I'm going into a fight, I go with searing, healing, and then my stone skin totem. That's usually what I go with when I'm going into a fight. Obviously, there's other defensive abilities you can have. The Charmer totem helps with fears and charms and sleeps, and your Stoneclaw totem helps with taunting. So if you need, you can put down your Stoneclaw totem, and that will cause enemies to attack the totem. It's going to help with aggro. So if for some reason you lose an enemy and it's starting to attack a healer, you can click on the Stoneclaw and it will taunt the mob onto the totem. Now obviously it's going to be only a one-hit thing, so if the enemy attacks a totem, the totem's going to die immediately, and that's going to be your time to try and pull the aggro. So I believe that's all when it comes to a simple guide for the Shaman tank. Pretty basic for tanking. Level 25, not a big deal. But that is basically all you need to know. That is the basics of the Shaman tank. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this video helps you guys out. And I really appreciate you guys making it this far in the video. If you guys think I did a good job, please leave a like down below. Leave some comments, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.